The signal came from the edge of space, weak and broken, traveled for months through the dark between stars before reaching Earth's listening stations. The message was simple but filled with fear. "This is Speaker Veltar of the Zilani Confederation. We are dying. Our worlds burn. The machines come for us, and we cannot stop them. If anyone hears this, please help us. We have 6 worlds left. Soon we will have none." Dr. Marcus Webb sat in the radio room deep under Colorado's mountains. He had heard many signals from space over the years. Most were just noise from distant stars. Some were simple greetings from alien traders. This one was different. This one made his hands shake as he played it again. The voice was soft and musical, like wind through trees. But underneath the beauty was pure terror. Dr. Webb had never heard fear like this before. He saved the message and ran to find his boss. Within 1 hour, the message reached the Terran Council in Geneva. The 12 leaders of Earth's government sat around a metal table and listened to the aliens' plea 3 times. No one spoke for a long moment. "How far away are they?" asked President Chen, a small woman with steel-gray hair. "About 40 light years," said General Morrison, a big man with scars on his face. "In the Vega sector. We have maps of that area." What? "Do we know about these Zilani?" asked Minister Kozlov from Russia. Dr. Webb stepped forward. He looked nervous but excited. "We have heard of them before. They trade with other species but keep to themselves. They are peaceful. They make art and study stars." "They have never hurt anyone. And these machines they talk about?" asked the president. General Morrison's face grew dark. "You think they are called devourers? Our spies have heard whispers. They are not alive. They're machines that eat planets and make more machines. They have destroyed 12 solar systems in the past 10 years. The room fell silent again. Everyone knew what this meant. If the machines finished with the Zilani, they would look for new targets. Earth might be next. "What? Can we do?" asked Minister Tanaka from Japan. "They're so far away." General Morrison smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We can do a lot more than people think." He pressed a button on the table. The lights dimmed, and a hologram appeared in the air. It showed Earth's solar system, but not the way most people knew it. Hidden bases floated near Jupiter. Massive shipyards circled Mars. Weapon platforms guarded every planet. "For 200 years we have been building," said the general. "We told the galaxy we were peaceful explorers. But we never forgot that space might be dangerous. We have been ready for war since the day we left Earth." President Chen leaned forward. "How ready? We have 3,000 warships. We have weapons that can crack moons. We have soldiers trained to fight in space, on planets, and inside enemy ships. The galaxy thinks humans are weak traders who sell coffee and music. They have no idea what we really are." Dr. Webb looked shocked, "But we are peaceful. We have not fought a war in 50 years. General Morrison nodded. "We are peaceful because we are strong. We have peace because we are ready for war. Now someone needs our help. Someone who cannot fight back." The president stood up. She was small, but her voice filled the room. The Zilani asked for help. They did not ask us to fight their war. They just asked for help. What kind of people would we be if we said no? She looked around the table. Every leader nodded. "General Morrison, you have permission to use whatever force you think is needed. Save the Zilani. Stop these machines." The general smiled again. This time it was real. "Yes, ma'am. I will need Admiral Sarah Chen to lead the fleet." President Chen raised an eyebrow. "My daughter. She is the best we have. She knows space combat. Better than anyone. She trained for this her whole life. Within 6 hours, orders flew to secret bases all over the solar system." Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UTS Indomitable. She was 35 years old with short black hair and calm eyes. Behind her, the largest human fleet ever assembled began to form up. Ships came from everywhere. Heavy cruisers that looked like flying mountains. Fast destroyers with enough firepower to level cities. Massive carriers full of fighter ships and marines. Supply vessels loaded with weapons and food for a long war. The aliens who traded with humans watched in shock. Where had all these ships come from? How had Earth hidden such a powerful military? The peaceful humans they knew were not gone, but Now they saw what lay underneath. Admiral Chen opened a channel to all ships. "Today, we go to war," she said. "Not for conquest. Not for resources. We fight because someone asked for help. We fight because it is right. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you threaten the innocent while humans are watching." Fleet began to move. 3,000 ships turned toward the edge of the solar system. Their engines burned bright blue in the darkness. Earth had been silent for 200 years. Now it spoke, and its voice was thunder. In the Vega sector, the Zilani's last 6 worlds waited for death. They did not know that help was coming. They did not know that Earth had heard their call. But soon they would learn that when humans promise to help, they bring everything they have. The machines would learn this too. The planet Cathera had been beautiful once. Green forests covered its mountains. Blue oceans sparkled under twin suns. Cities of crystal and light housed millions of Zilani families. Children played in gardens while their parents made art and studied the stars. Now, Cathara was dying. Commander Zixtel stood on the observation deck of the last evacuation ship. Below him, the planet looked like a wound in space. The forests were gone. The oceans had turned to steam. Where cities once stood, only metal and fire remained. The devourers worked without rest. Massive machines the size of mountains crawled. Across the surface, they had no beauty, no art, no purpose, except to consume. Everything they touched turned to raw materials. Trees became metal bars. Stone became building blocks. Even the air was filtered and stored in tanks. "How long until they finish?" asked Captain Morden, a young Zilani with fear in her large eyes. Zixtal checked his instruments. 3 days. Maybe 4. Then they will move to Velanara. The ship shook as another devourer rose from the planet's core. This one was different from the others. It was bigger, shaped like a giant flower made of black metal. Tentacles of machinery reached out in all directions. Each tentacle was as long as a city and covered with smaller machines. "What is that thing?" whispered Morden. "A harvester," said Zixtal. "It takes what the others collect and makes new machines. One day, it can build 100 new devourers." They watched in horror as the harvester began its work. Metal flowed like water into new shapes. Energy crackled between its arms. In minutes, a new devourer took shape and began crawling toward the remaining forests. "We have to try again," said Morden. "We cannot just watch." Zixtal shook his head. "We tried. On Ixmola, we lost 3,000 ships. Our energy weapons barely scratched their armor. Our shields mean nothing to them. They learn from every attack and become stronger." But Morden was already moving to the weapon controls. She was young and still believed they could fight. Her fingers danced over the crystal panels. The ship's main cannon powered up with a high whine. "Target the harvester," she said. "If we can stop it from making new machines... ... "Captain, no," said Zixtel. But it was too late. The energy beam lanced down from space. It was bright as a small sun and packed with enough power to level a mountain. It struck the harvester directly. In its center, for a moment, hope bloomed in Zixtal's chest. Then the beam split apart. The harvester's surface rippled like water. Energy scattered in all directions, harmless as light rain. The massive machine did not even slow down. Worse, it had noticed them. A section of the harvester's surface opened like an eye. Something shot out, moving too fast to see clearly. It was small, no bigger than a fighter ship, but it moved with deadly purpose. "Evasive action," shouted Zixtal. The evacuation ship turned and burned its engines at full power. But the hunter was faster, caught up in seconds. Zixtal saw it clearly now. It looked like a metal spider with wings of pure energy. Its eyes glowed red as blood. Spider Thing fired. Not energy, but something solid. Tiny missiles that moved like living creatures. They struck the ship's shields and did something impossible. They passed right through. The ship bucked and shook. Warning lights flashed. The smell of burning metal filled the air. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported the engineer. "The missiles are inside the ship. They are eating the walls." Zixtel ran to the emergency controls. He slammed his fist on the evacuation button. Air rushed out as escape pods launched in all directions. Most would make it to the other ships. Some would not. As his own pod tumbled through space, Zixtel watched the evacuation ship die. The metal spiders had multiplied inside it. They ate through everything, growing larger as they consumed. In minutes, the ship was nothing but expanding. Debris on the surface below, the harvester continued its work. It had already forgotten about the ship. There were bigger things to build. Meanwhile, in space above Earth, Admiral Sarah Chen studied reports from the war zone. The holographic display showed the Devourer advance like a spreading disease. 6 Zilani worlds had become 2. Soon there would be none. They are not just machines, said Dr. Elizabeth Foster, Earth's top alien technology expert.
They learn.
They adapt. Every weapon used against them makes them stronger. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. What about their energy weapons? Useless. The Devourers have adapted to absorb energy attacks. They actually use the power to build more machines. Shields. Machines can phase through most barriers. Some kind of quantum effect we do not understand. The Admiral walked to the great window of her command station. Outside, the human fleet continued to grow. Ships arrived every hour from hidden bases throughout the solar system. But looking at the reports, she wondered if it would be enough. What do our scientists say? She asked. Dr. Foster looked nervous. They think the Devourers were built by someone who knew about energy weapons and shields. Someone who wanted to make sure their machines could defeat any normal space military. But we are not normal, are we? Dr. Foster managed a small smile. No, Admiral. We are definitely not normal. The Devourers were designed to fight aliens who use energy and exotic physics. They were not designed to fight humans. Admiral Chen turned back to the display. The red tide of machines continued to spread. But soon it would meet something it had never faced before. Human stubbornness, human fury, human weapons. That? Solve problems with brute force instead of elegant science? Signal the fleet, she said. Maximum burn to the Vega sector. And load every kinetic weapon we have. These machines are about to learn why humans still use bullets. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Zilani space. 3,000 ships spread across the darkness like a metal storm. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UTS Indomitable and watched the tactical display. Fill with red dots. Contact, reported Lieutenant Torres. Devourer machines detected. Estimate over 10,000 units. Any Zilani ships? Yes, ma'am. About 50 ships retreating from the 4th planet. They look damaged. Admiral Chen nodded. Open a channel to the Zilani fleet. The main screen flickered and showed a bridge full of tall, thin aliens with large eyes and pale blue skin. Their captain looked exhausted and afraid. Unknown ships. This is Commander Zixtel of the Zilani Defense Force. You must leave this system immediately. The machines will destroy you. Commander Zixtel, I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Navy. We received your call for help. We're here to fight. Zixtel's eyes went wide. Terran? You mean human? But your people are traitors. You have no military. Admiral. Chen smiled. It was not a nice smile. Commander, you are about to learn that humans are very good at keeping secrets. All ships, battle stations, target the nearest Devourer cluster. The human fleet moved like a pack of hunting wolves. The heavy cruisers took the lead, their armor thick as building walls. Behind them came the destroyers, fast and deadly. Squadrons poured from the carriers like angry insects. Zixtel watched in amazement. Those ships. They look so simple. No energy shields, no plasma weapons. What are those things sticking out from their sides? Railguns, said Admiral Chen. Over the open channel? We call them kinetic weapons. They shoot big pieces of metal very, very fast. Metal. But that is so primitive. Sometimes primitive works best. All ships open fire. The human fleet lit up like a constellation. But instead of energy beams, they fired solid projectiles. Tungsten rods the size of telephone poles shot from railguns at 1/10 the speed of light. Missiles with nuclear warheads streaked through space. Even simple bullets, millions of them, formed clouds of death. The first Devourer cluster never knew what hit them. The tungsten rods punched through their adaptive armor like paper. Nuclear explosions turned their quantum shields into useless light shows. Where energy weapons had failed for months, human kinetic weapons succeeded in seconds. "Impossible," whispered Zixtel. "Nothing can penetrate their defenses." "Their defenses adapt to energy," said Admiral Chen. "But they cannot adapt to a half-ton of metal moving at 30,000 kilometers per second. Physics still matters." The Devourers tried to respond. Hunter ships launched from the larger machines. They were fast and deadly, designed to catch energy-based fighters. But human pilots flew different ships with different tactics. Lieutenant Jake Morrison pulled his fighter into a tight turn as 3 hunters chased him. His ship was ugly compared to Zilani designs. No smooth curves or elegant lines, just armor, engines, and guns. Lots of guns. "Come on, you metal bugs," he muttered. "Let's dance." The hunters fired their phase missiles. The projectiles passed right through Jake's fighter without exploding. They were designed for energy shields, not solid armor. Jake grinned and fired back. His guns shot depleted uranium rounds at incredible speed. The hunters tried to dodge, but kinetic weapons do not miss the same way energy beams do. The bullets found their targets and tore the machines apart. "Scratch 3 bandits," he reported. "These things do not know how to fight real weapons." On the surface of Thalassa Prime, the last Zilani stronghold, Speaker Veltar watched the battle through a telescope. She had sent the call for help, but never expected an answer. Now ships that looked like flying fortresses were tearing through machines that had seemed unstoppable. "Who are these humans?" she asked her aide. "I am researching, Speaker," they claim. "To be peaceful traders, but their military technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. How did they hide this?" The battle moved closer to the planet. A massive harvester, the same type that had destroyed Kethera, rose from the ocean. Its tentacles reached for the human ships like the arms of an angry god. Admiral Chen saw it coming. "All cruisers, focus fire on that harvester. Show it what human engineering can do." 12 heavy cruisers turned their guns on the machine. Each cruiser carried weapons that could crack asteroids. Together, they fired a barrage that lit up the system. The harvester tried to adapt. Its surface rippled and changed. Shields flared with captured energy. But there was no energy to capture. Only tungsten rods moving fast enough to punch through planets. The machine died in sections. First, its tentacles, cut away by precise railgun fire. Then its core, shattered by nuclear-tipped missiles. Finally, its main body turned to scrap by sustained kinetic bombardment, but the humans were not done. Marine transports moved toward damaged Devourer ships that still showed signs of life. These transports looked like flying brick buildings, ugly but functional. "What are they doing?" asked Zixtel. "Boarding action," said Admiral Chen. "We are going inside to make sure these machines stay dead." The first transport docked with a wounded Devourer using magnetic clamps. Airlocks burned through the machine's hull with plasma cutters. Then the Marines went in. Sergeant Maria Santos led the first squad into the machine's interior. She wore powered armor that made her look like a walking tank. Her weapon was a simple electromagnetic rifle that fired steel spikes. Inside the machine, repair drones tried to fix the damage. They were not designed to fight. When they saw the humans, they tried to adapt, growing weapons and armor. But the Marines moved too fast and hit too hard. "Contact front," Santos reported. Drones trying to grow combat forms. Suppressing with kinetic fire. Her squad opened up with everything they had. Steel spikes, explosive charges, and good old-fashioned grenades. The drones could not adapt fast enough. They had never faced creatures that solved problems by hitting them with bigger hammers. In 30 minutes, the machine was dead. In 1 hour, 5 more transports had boarded other damaged ships. The humans fought like their ancestors had fought on ancient seas, taking enemy ships by force and making sure they stayed taken. Zixtel could only stare. They fight inside enemy ships with hand weapons. Who does that? Admiral Chen heard him and laughed. Humans do that, Commander. We have been fighting on ships for thousands of years. Space is just another ocean to us. The battle was won, but the war was just beginning. The Devourers had learned something new today. They'd met a species that did not fight with elegant energy weapons or sophisticated shields. They had met humans who believed that any problem could be solved with enough kinetic energy, applied in the right place, and the machines were afraid. The Devourers learned quickly. Too quickly. 3 weeks after the first battle, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with growing concern. The red dots representing enemy machines moved differently now. They stayed in tight groups. They avoided direct confrontation. They were adapting. Report, she ordered. Commander Park, her tactical officer, looked grim. The machines have changed their behavior completely. They're no longer trying to absorb energy attacks. Instead, they focus on avoiding our kinetic weapons. They have also started targeting our ships specifically. What do you mean? Before they attacked anything that moved? Now they ignore Zilani ships completely and hunt only for humans. They know we are the real threat. On the bridge screen, Speaker Veltar appeared. The Zilani leader looked worried. Admiral Chen, our scouts report massive machine movements near the gas giant Kronos. It appears they are building something. Admiral Chen studied the star charts. Kronos was a huge planet with 17 moons and radiation belts that could kill a person in minutes. What kind of something? We do not know. The structure is enormous. Our ships cannot get close enough to see clearly. We will investigate. Chen out. The human fleet moved toward Kronos in battle formation. As they approached the gas giant, the scope of the Devourer construction became clear. The machines had built a ring around the entire planet. The ring was made of thousands of connected platforms, each one the size of a city. My God, whispered Lieutenant Torres. What are they building? Chief Engineer Kim studied the sensor readings. Admiral, I think it is a factory, but not just any factory. This thing could build 1 million ships in a few months. Admiral Chen felt cold. If the machines finished this project, they could overwhelm any defense. All ships, attack formation. We destroy that ring before they finish it. But as the human fleet approached, the trap was revealed. The ring was not just a factory, it was also a weapon. Energy beams lanced out from thousands of points along its length. But these were not the energy weapons the Devourers had used before. These were kinetic accelerators, firing metal projectiles at incredible speeds. Evasive action, shouted Admiral Chen. The human fleet scattered, but the enemy fire was too dense. The destroyer, UTS Brave, took a direct hit from a projectile moving at half the speed of light. The ship simply vanished in a flash of light and twisted metal. They have copied our weapons, said Commander Park, but made them bigger. Admiral, Chen gritted her teeth. This was what made humans dangerous in war. When someone hit them, they did not just hit back. They hit back harder and smarter. Signal all ships. New tactics. We are going to use Kronos itself as a weapon. The human fleet dove toward the gas giant's radiation belts. These were areas of space filled with deadly particles and electromagnetic storms. Most ships avoided them completely. But human ships were built tough. Admiral Chen led the charge in the Indomitable. The ship's hull groaned as radiation hammered. Against its armor, warning lights flashed. The crew worked frantically to keep systems running. Hull temperature rising, reported Chief Kim. We can only stay in here for 20 minutes, and we better work fast. All ships, begin the gravity sling maneuver. What happened next had never been attempted by any military in galactic history. The human fleet used Kronos' massive gravity to accelerate their ships to impossible speeds. They swung around the planet like stones in a slingshot, building velocity with each pass. The Devourers tried to track them, but the radiation belts scrambled their sensors. The ring factory fired blindly into the electromagnetic storms, hitting nothing but space. Shouted Admiral Chen. The human ships burst from the radiation belts like missiles. They were moving so fast that time seemed to slow down.
Then the Devourer.
Ring tried to turn its weapons, but the machines were too slow. The cruiser UTS Thunder struck the ring first. Moving at 30% of light speed, the ship did not fire its weapons. It did not need to. The ship itself had become a weapon. When it hit the ring, the explosion lit up the entire system. More ships followed. The destroyer UTS Storm, the heavy cruiser UTS Avalanche. Each impact sent shockwaves through the massive structure. Metal twisted and broke. Fires erupted in the vacuum of space. But the humans paid a terrible price. Every ship that struck the ring was destroyed. Thousands of brave men and women died in seconds. Yet still they came. Commander Lisa Wong piloted her fighter squadron through the chaos. Her small ships could not damage the ring by ramming it. But they could do something else. They could get inside. "Follow me," she ordered her pilots. "We are going into that structure." Fighters dove through gaps torn in the ring's hull. Inside, they found a mechanical nightmare. Machines the size of buildings worked without rest. Assembly lines stretched for kilometers. The air itself was made of tiny metal particles. "Look at this place," said Pilot Jackson over the comm. "It is like the inside of a giant clock." Wong led her squadron deeper into the structure. Human fighters were small and fast compared to the heavy machinery around them. They flew between massive gears and around spinning arms, looking for vital systems there, said Wong, pointing to a central control node. "That must be the brain of this place." The fighters opened fire with everything they had. Missiles, bullets, and plasma charges struck the control center. The node tried to defend itself with repair drones, but there were too many human weapons. The node exploded in a shower of sparks. Around them, the great machines began to slow and stop. The assembly lines ground to a halt. The ring factory was dying, but the Devourers had one last surprise. As the human fighters tried to escape, the structure began to collapse on purpose. The machines were destroying their own factory to trap the humans inside. "All fighters, emergency burn," shouted Wong. "Get out now." Half the squadron made it out. The others were crushed when the ring folded in on itself like a closing fist. Wong watched good pilots die and felt fury burn in her chest. The machines would pay for every human life, as the debris from the ring factory spread through space. Admiral Chen surveyed the battlefield. The immediate threat was gone, but the cost had been enormous.
Ouch.
She had lost 30 ships and 5,000 crew members. "Myral," said Commander Park quietly. "Long-range sensors are detecting movement from the core systems. The main Devourer force is coming." Admiral Chen nodded. She had expected this. The machines had learned that humans were dangerous. Now they were bringing everything they had to. "Finish the job, Signal Earth," she ordered. "Tell them we need reinforcements. Tell them the real war is about to begin." In the depths of space, 1,000,000 Devourer ships began moving toward the Zilani homeworlds. They had learned to respect human weapons. They had learned to fear human tactics. But they had also learned that humans could be killed. The question was, which lesson would matter more? The Devourer core facility hung in space like a metal planet. It was bigger than Earth's moon and covered with billions of machines that never stopped working. This was where all the destruction began. This was the heart of the machine intelligence that had killed entire civilizations. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship. Now one of only 300 human ships left. The rest lay broken across a dozen battlefields. Behind her, the Zilani fleet watched and waited. Had seen humans fight with impossible courage, but this seemed like madness. "Admiral," said Commander Park, his voice quiet. "Our weapons cannot penetrate that structure. The core facility has adapted to everything we have thrown at it. Even our kinetic weapons barely scratch its surface." Admiral Chen studied the massive construction through the main viewer. Weapon platforms the size of cities protected its surface. Repair systems fixed any damage in seconds. It was like trying to fight a mountain that could heal itself. "What about the boarding transports?" she asked. Chief Engineer Kim shook her head. "The hull is too thick. Our plasma cutters would take days to burn through. We do not have days." On the tactical display, more red dots appeared at the edge of the system. The remaining Devourer fleets were returning. In 6 hours, they would arrive. The human fleet would be trapped between the core facility and 1,000,000 enemy ships.
Admiral?
Came Speaker Veltar's voice over the comm. You have done more than enough. You've saved our people. No one could ask you to sacrifice more. Admiral Chen closed her eyes for a moment. She thought of Earth, peaceful and green. She thought of her mother, President Chen, who had trusted her to make the right choice, who had followed her into hell because she asked them to. Commander Park, signal all ships. Prepare for final assault. Ma'am, we cannot win. The math does not work. Admiral Chen smiled sadly. The math never worked, Commander. We are 300 ships attacking something the size of a planet. But sometimes you do not fight because you can win. Sometimes you fight because it is right. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We came here to save the Zilani. We came here to stop these machines. We are going to finish the job. Her voice carried across space to every human ship. In engine rooms and weapon bays, on bridges and in fighter cockpits, her people listened. These machines think they understand us now. They think they know how humans fight. They are wrong. They know how we shoot and how we fly. But they do not know who we are. We are the species that climbed down from trees and decided to reach for the stars. We are the people who look at impossible odds and say, challenge accepted. Today, we show them what that really means. The human fleet began to move, but not toward the weapon platforms or the defensive barriers. They flew straight toward the core facility itself. All ships, ramming speed. We were going through. What happened next would be remembered in the songs of a dozen species. 300 human ships flew into the teeth of the most powerful defenses ever built. They did not try to dodge. They did not try to hide. They flew straight ahead, engines burning at maximum power. The Devourers fired everything they had. Energy beams and kinetic weapons filled space with death. Human ships died by the dozens. But for every ship that fell, 10 more kept coming. Cruiser UTS Defiant took a direct hit from a weapon that could have destroyed a city. Ship broke in half, but its crew kept fighting. They used the 2 pieces of their ship as separate ramming weapons, striking 2 different targets. The destroyer UTS Courage lost its engines but would not stop. The crew vented atmosphere to create thrust, pushing their ship forward with the air from their own lungs. Fighter pilot Sarah Kim found herself alone when her squadron was destroyed. Her ship was damaged and her weapons were gone. But she still had one thing left. She aimed her fighter at a critical sensor array and sang her grandmother's lullaby as she flew into the fire. One by one, the human ships reached the core facility. They struck like hammers against an anvil. Each impact sent shockwaves through the massive structure. Armor cracked. Systems failed. For the first time in 1,000 years, the heart of the machine intelligence felt pain. Admiral Chen brought the indomitable in last. Her ship was scarred and burning, but it still flew. She aimed for the central core, the brain of the entire operation. Ma'am, said Lieutenant Torres, we are receiving a signal from inside the facility. It is ... It is not machine code. The main screen flickered and showed a figure that was once alive. It was tall and thin, with 4 arms and silver skin.
Nice.
Eyes were filled with ancient sadness. I am Architect Genver of the Eternal Republic, it said. I built these machines long ago to end all war. We were dying, and we wanted to make sure no other species would suffer as we did. Admiral Chen stared at the figure. You built the Devourers to stop war by destroying everyone. We thought, if there was only one intelligence left, there could be no conflict. We were wrong. We created something worse than war. We created extinction. The facility shuddered as more human ships struck its surface. The ancient intelligence looked directly at Admiral Chen. I have watched you fight. Your species does something mine never could. You wage war not for conquest, but for protection. You are what we should have been. Can you stop the machines? Asked Admiral Chen. Only by destroying the core completely. But the explosion will kill everyone in this system. Admiral Chen looked around her bridge. Her crew was young and brave and deserved to see Earth again. But behind them, the Zilani waited. Beyond that, a galaxy of peaceful species lived in fear. "Do it," she said. "Admiral, no." Commander Park grabbed her arm. "The evacuation ships are still in the system. If we warn them now, they might reach minimum safe distance." Admiral Chen shook her head. "The Devourer fleets are too close. If we wait, they will stop us. It has to be now." She turned back to the ancient alien. "Architect, can you give us 1 hour? Enough time for the Zilani to escape?" The figure nodded sadly. "I can delay the destruction for 60 minutes, but no longer. Signal all Zilani ships." Admiral Chen ordered full burn out of the system. Tell them humans keep their promises." As the alien evacuation fleet raced towards safety, Admiral Chen sat in her captain's chair one last time. Around her, the core facility began to shake itself apart. Ancient machines that had run for millennia started to fail. "Any regrets, Admiral?" asked Commander Park. Admiral Chen thought of home. She thought of children playing in Earth's parks, never knowing how close they had come to sharing the fate of countless dead worlds. "None," she said. "We came here to save people. Mission accomplished." The core facility exploded like a newborn star. The blast vaporized everything within a light hour. The Devourer fleets, caught in the explosion, simply ceased to exist. In one moment, a threat that had terrorized the galaxy for 1,000 years was gone. The Zilani ships, barely outside the blast radius, watched in silence as a new sun briefly lit up their sky. They had been saved by strangers who asked for nothing. In return, by warriors who chose sacrifice over survival, Speaker Veltar wept for the first time in her long life. They could have run. They could have saved themselves. Why did they stay? Her aide, young and trying to understand, said quietly, "Because they were human, Speaker. And humans do not abandon their friends." The galaxy would remember this day. They would remember that when evil seemed unstoppable, Earth had answered a call for help. They would remember that humanity's greatest weapon was not their ships or their guns. It was their refusal to let innocent people die while they watched. The war was over. The price was paid. And somewhere in the cold stars, the ghost of Admiral War. Sarah Chen smiled, knowing her people would never have to face the Devourers again.